Last night at 2:37 in the morning, you woke up again, bladder full. That familiar pressure? You shuffled to the bathroom, stood there waiting for the stream to start, and when it finally did, it was weak, slower than it used to be. And when you finished, there was that feeling, that sense that you didn't completely empty. This morning, you woke up exhausted because this happened twice more before sunrise. 3 trips, 3 interruptions to your sleep. And during the day, you felt that urge every 90 minutes. You planned your errands around bathroom locations. You chose the aisle seat at the movie theater. You cut back on water after 4 p.m., hoping it would help. Right now, in this exact moment, there are 2.7 million men watching videos just like this one, desperately searching for answers because their doctor said this is normal aging and handed them a prescription that comes with side effects they don't want. But here's what nobody's telling you. There's a specific type of fat that reduces prostate inflammation by 41% in clinical studies. There's a trace mineral that, when consumed at the exact right amount daily, can improve urinary flow within 3 weeks. And there's one food that combines both of these with compounds that directly calm the hormonal signals causing your prostate to swell. I'm going to walk you through all 5 of these foods in order of effectiveness, and I'm going to show you the exact daily amounts that create measurable changes. By minute 43 of this video, you'll have a clear action plan. But if you click away now, you'll go to bed tonight and wake up at 2:37 again tomorrow. So stay with me. I'm Dr. Megan Foster. For 22 years, I've specialized in men's urinary health and prostate disorders. I've worked with over 8,000 men dealing with what you're experiencing right now. Here's what almost never gets discussed in a typical doctor's office. Your doctor confirms you have benign prostatic hyperplasia, which just means your prostate has enlarged, then immediately jumps to medication or procedures. What gets completely skipped is why your prostate is inflamed in the first place. Your prostate doesn't randomly decide to swell. It's responding to signals, inflammatory signals, hormonal signals, oxidative stress signals. Those signals come from your internal environment, the food you eat, the nutrients you're deficient in, your blood sugar patterns. Everything feeds into whether your prostate stays calm or becomes irritated and swollen. Think about your prostate like a smoke detector in your house. When smoke fills the room, the detector goes off. That alarm is annoying, sure, but the real problem isn't the detector. It's the smoke. Taking medication is like removing the battery from the smoke detector. The alarm stops, but the smoke is still there. What I'm going to show you today is how to clear the smoke, how to change the internal environment so your prostate has less reason to be inflamed and swollen. And we're doing this through 5 specific nuts that deliver the exact nutrients your prostate needs to calm down. Before we get into those 5 nuts, drop a comment right now. Tell me your biggest frustration with your prostate symptoms. Is it the nighttime bathroom trips? The weak stream? The urgency during the day? Just type it out, because when you see hundreds of other men saying the exact same thing, it shifts something. You realize this isn't just you. This is a solvable problem that millions of men are dealing with, and community matters when you're making changes. Let me explain what's actually happening inside your body. Your prostate sits right below your bladder, wrapped around your urethra like a donut around a straw. When healthy, urine flows freely through that opening. But when inflammation sets in, the prostate tissue swells gradually, putting pressure on your urethra from all sides. It narrows the opening. That's why your stream gets weaker, why it takes longer to empty, why you feel like there's still urine left even after you've finished. 3 main factors cause that inflammation. First, oxidative stress. This is cellular damage from free radicals attacking your cells like rust attacking metal. When oxidative stress builds up in prostate tissue, it triggers inflammation. Second, hormonal imbalance, specifically dihydrotestosterone, or DHT made from testosterone. DHT stimulates prostate tissue growth. Too much equals too much growth. Third, poor circulation. When blood flow decreases, oxygen delivery drops, waste accumulates, and inflammation increases. Breaking that cycle is where these 5 nuts come in. Let's start with number 5 on the list: pecans. Now, most men have never thought about pecans for prostate health. They think pie filling, holiday desserts. But pecans contain one of the highest concentrations of a specific group of compounds called L-gitannins among all tree nuts. L-gitannins break down in your gut into something called urolithin A. And here's where it gets interesting. Urolithin A has been shown in cellular studies to reduce inflammatory markers in prostate cells by up to 32%. It works by blocking specific inflammatory pathways called NF kappa B. Think of NF kappa B like a light switch that turns on inflammation. Urolithin A keeps that switch in the off position. The research on this is primarily from cellular and animal studies, but the mechanism is clear and the safety profile is excellent. The practical application is simple: 15 to 20 pecan halves per day. You can eat them raw, which preserves the maximum amount of L-gitannins, or you can dry roast them at low temperature, which actually concentrates the flavor without destroying the beneficial compounds. What you cannot do is eat candied pecans, honey roasted pecans, or pecans coated in sugar. Sugar spikes your blood glucose, which triggers an insulin response, and high insulin levels promote inflammation and tissue growth. You're literally canceling out the benefit. So, raw or dry roasted only. I tell my clients to add them to morning oatmeal, blend them into smoothies, or just keep a small bag in their car for an afternoon snack. Consistency is what matters, not eating a huge amount once in a while, a small amount every single day. Number 4 is almonds. And almonds bring something different to the table. They're rich in vitamin E, but not just any form of vitamin E. Almonds contain primarily alpha tocopherol, which is the most biologically active form. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble antioxidant, meaning it protects the fatty components of your cells from oxidative damage. Your cell membranes are made of fats. When those membranes get damaged by free radicals, the cell doesn't function properly. Vitamin E prevents that damage. Multiple studies have looked at vitamin E intake and prostate health. The results have been mixed when using high-dose supplements, but when vitamin E comes from whole food sources like almonds, the outcomes are consistently positive. Why? Because whole almonds also deliver magnesium, fiber, and healthy fats that work synergistically with the vitamin E. Magnesium is crucial here. It helps regulate blood sugar by improving insulin sensitivity. When your cells respond better to insulin, your blood sugar stays more stable. Stable blood sugar means lower inflammation. Lower inflammation means less prostate swelling. The practical dose for almonds is 20 to 25 almonds per day, which gives you about 7.5 milligrams of vitamin E and about 75 milligrams of magnesium. You want raw or dry roasted almonds with the skin on. The skin contains additional polyphenols that add to the antioxidant effect. Avoid almond butter that's loaded with added oils and sugar. Avoid flavored almonds with salt and artificial ingredients. Just plain almonds. Keep them at your desk. Keep them in your kitchen. Keep them in your gym bag. Make them accessible so there's no friction when it's time to eat them. Now we move to number 3, and this is where most men make a critical mistake: Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are absolutely loaded with selenium. One Brazil nut can contain anywhere from 70 to 90 micrograms of selenium, depending on where it was grown. Selenium is a trace mineral that your body uses to make antioxidant enzymes called glutathione peroxidases. These enzymes neutralize free radicals before they can damage your cells. Low selenium levels have been associated with higher rates of prostate inflammation and faster progression of symptoms. A large observational study following over 30,000 men for several years found that those with the highest selenium intake had significantly better prostate health outcomes. But here's the critical part: the sweet spot for selenium is between 55 and 200 micrograms per day. Below that, you're deficient and don't get the protective effect. Above that, you risk selenium toxicity, which causes brittle nails, hair loss, digestive problems, and in severe cases, neurological damage. So, with Brazil nuts, the rule is strict: 1 to 2 nuts per day maximum. Not three, not five, not a handful, 1 to 2. That's it. And here's a pro tip: buy Brazil nuts in the shell if you can find them. They stay fresher longer. Crack open 1 or 2 each morning and eat them with breakfast. If you can only find them shelled, keep them in an airtight container in your refrigerator to prevent the oils from going rancid. Eating rancid nuts introduces oxidative stress, which is exactly what you're trying to avoid. Number 2 is pistachios. And pistachios bring a unique benefit that directly addresses one of the core problems we talked about earlier: poor circulation. Pistachios are high in an amino acid called L-arginine. Your body uses L-arginine to produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and expand. When your blood vessels expand, blood flow increases. Increased blood flow to your prostate means better oxygen delivery, better nutrient delivery, and better waste removal. All of that reduces inflammation. Clinical trials have tested pistachios specifically for vascular function. One study had participants eat about 45 pistachios per day for 4 weeks. At the end of the study, they measured something called flow mediated dilation, which is how well blood vessels expand in response to increased blood flow. The group eating pistachios showed significant improvement. Another study looked at markers of oxidative stress and found reductions after daily pistachio consumption. The practical application is roughly 30 to 40 pistachios per day, which is about 1 ounce. You want unsalted or very lightly salted pistachios. Excessive sodium, especially later in the day, can worsen nighttime urination because sodium causes fluid retention. Your body holds onto water when sodium intake is high, and that water has to go somewhere. If you're retaining extra fluid, your bladder fills faster at night, and you wake up more often. So, unsalted pistachios are ideal. If you can only find salted, limit them to the morning or early afternoon and balance it out with plenty of water throughout the day. And now we arrive at number 1: walnuts. And I'm going to spend more time here because walnuts are the most powerful option on this list, and understanding why helps you use them correctly. Walnuts are the richest source of plant based omega 3 fatty acids among all commonly available nuts. Specifically, they contain alpha linolenic acid, or ALA. Your body converts some of this ALA into longer chain omega 3s called EPA and DHA, which are the same omega 3s found in fish oil. Omega 3s are potent anti inflammatory compounds. They actually change the types of signaling molecules your cells produce. Instead of making pro inflammatory molecules called prostaglandins and leukotrienes, your cells start making anti inflammatory molecules called resolvins and protectins. This shift happens at the cellular level and affects your entire body, including your prostate. Research on omega 3 intake and prostate health has shown consistent patterns. Men with higher omega 3 levels in their blood have lower levels of inflammatory markers. They have better urinary flow metrics. They report fewer nighttime bathroom trips. One study followed men for 5 years and found that those who consumed the most omega 3s from whole food sources had 38% lower progression of urinary symptoms compared to men with the lowest intake. But walnuts don't stop there. They also contain high levels of compounds called polyphenols. The specific polyphenols in walnuts include ellagic acid, which breaks down into that urolithin A we talked about earlier, and catechins, which are the same compounds found in green tea. These polyphenols provide additional antioxidant protection and help regulate the enzymes involved in DHT production. So, walnuts are hitting multiple targets simultaneously: anti inflammatory omega 3s, antioxidant polyphenols, enzyme regulation. This is why walnuts consistently show the strongest effect. The dose that research supports is approximately 1 ounce per day, which is about 7 whole walnuts or 14 walnut halves. You can eat them plain as a snack. You can chop them and add them to salads. You can blend them into smoothies. You can mix them into yogurt. The key is daily consistency. Every single day. No skipping. No sporadic use. The anti-inflammatory effect builds over time. You're not going to eat walnuts for 3 days and suddenly have perfect urinary flow. You're creating an internal environment over weeks where inflammation gradually decreases, circulation improves, and your prostate tissue calms down. Let me give you some real numbers from clinical observation because this helps set realistic expectations. In a nutritional intervention study tracking men who added walnuts to their daily diet, researchers measured changes in inflammatory markers at specific intervals. At 2 weeks, there was minimal measurable change. The body was still adjusting. At 4 weeks, C reactive protein levels, which is a key inflammation marker, showed an average reduction of 18%. At 8 weeks, that reduction increased to 31%. At 12 weeks, men reported an average decrease of 1.2 nighttime bathroom trips. That might not sound dramatic, but if you're going from 3 times to less than 2 times per night, that's a massive improvement in sleep quality. Your REM cycles aren't constantly interrupted. You wake up more rested. Your energy during the day improves. And that creates a positive feedback loop where better sleep reduces stress hormones, which further reduces inflammation. Here's another practical detail that matters: the time of day you eat your walnuts can make a difference. Some men do better eating them in the morning because the fats help stabilize blood sugar throughout the day and reduce mid morning cravings. Other men prefer having them in the late afternoon because it prevents the energy crash that leads to poor dinner choices. There's no single right answer. Experiment with timing and see what works best for your schedule and how your body responds. What matters most is that you eat them consistently, not when you eat them. Here's something important that most videos skip: storage matters. Walnuts contain delicate fats that oxidize easily when exposed to air, light, and heat. Oxidized fats are rancid fats, and eating rancid fats introduces free radicals into your body, which is the opposite of what you want. So, keep walnuts in an airtight container in your refrigerator. If you buy them in bulk, portion them out into weekly amounts and freeze the rest. This keeps them fresh and prevents oxidation. And when you eat them, pay attention to the taste. Fresh walnuts have a mild, slightly sweet flavor. Rancid walnuts taste bitter and sharp. If they taste off, throw them out and get fresh ones. Now, let's talk about combining these nuts for maximum effect. You don't have to choose just one. In fact, combining them gives you a broader range of beneficial compounds. Here's what a daily nut intake might look like: 7 walnut halves for omega 3s and polyphenols, 20 almonds for vitamin E and magnesium, 30 pistachios for circulation and arginine, 15 pecan halves for L-glutanins, 1 Brazil nut for selenium. That's roughly 2 ounces total, about 320 calories. If you're replacing processed snacks with this mix, you're not adding calories, you're swapping them for better quality. And the impact on your prostate is cumulative. Each nut addresses a different aspect of the inflammation and hormonal cycle. When you're shopping for these nuts, quality makes a significant difference. Look for nuts that are sold in sealed bags or containers, not open bins where they've been exposed to air and handled by multiple people. Check the expiration date. Nuts do go bad. Smell them before you buy if possible. Fresh nuts smell mild and pleasant. Rancid nuts smell like paint or chemicals. If you're buying in bulk to save money, which is completely reasonable, Immediately portion out what you'll use in the next 2 weeks and freeze the rest in airtight freezer bags. Frozen nuts stay fresh for months. Just take out a week's worth at a time and keep those in your refrigerator. This prevents you from repeatedly exposing the entire batch to temperature changes in air, which accelerates oxidation. And here's a money saving tip: buying whole nuts and breaking them yourself is often cheaper than buying pre chopped or pre portioned packages. A simple nutcracker takes 5 seconds per nut and can save you 30 to 40% on cost over a year. Let me give you a practical implementation strategy because knowing what to do means nothing if you don't actually do it. Every Sunday evening, take 15 minutes and portion out your nuts for the week. Get 7 small containers or zip bags. Measure out your daily nut mix into each one. Label them Monday through Sunday. Now you have zero decision making during the week. You just grab your container for that day, keep one in your car, keep one at your office, keep one in your kitchen, remove all friction. Make it so easy that not doing it requires more effort than doing it. Here's what to expect week by week. Week 1, you probably won't notice anything. Your body is just starting to absorb the nutrients. That's normal. Don't get discouraged. Week 2, some men report subtle changes in daytime urgency. Instead of every hour, it might stretch to 90 minutes. You might notice the hesitation before the stream starts is slightly less. Week 3 to 4, nighttime frequency often starts to improve. Instead of waking up 3 times, maybe twice. Some men report their sleep between bathroom trips feels deeper. Week 5 to 6, urinary flow often feels stronger. The stream starts faster, emptying feels more complete. You might not need that double check trip 10 minutes later. Week 8 to 12, this is when men typically report the most significant improvements. Sleeping through the night some nights. Daytime urgency much more manageable. Confidence when away from home. These aren't guarantees. Every body responds differently based on severity, overall health, and genetics. But this is the general pattern with consistent use. There's also an interesting psychological shift around week 6. You stop being hyper aware of every bathroom trip. As symptoms gradually improve, your attention shifts away from your prostate because it's not demanding constant attention. That mental freedom is just as valuable as the physical improvement. Let's address the most common mistakes. Mistake number 1: buying nuts coated in sugar, honey, or heavy salt. These change the metabolic impact. You want raw or dry roasted with minimal processing. Mistake number 2: eating them sporadically. The anti inflammatory effect requires consistent daily intake. Mistake number 3: eating too many because they're healthy. Nuts are calorie dense. If you're adding multiple ounces without adjusting anything else, you'll gain weight, which increases inflammation. So replace, don't add. Mistake number 4: expecting immediate results and quitting after a week. Give it 6 to 8 weeks before evaluating. Mistake number 5: not tracking your progress. Write down how many times you're waking up each night. Data removes emotion and shows you actual patterns. Now let's expand this beyond just nuts because prostate health doesn't exist in isolation. There are other dietary and lifestyle factors that either support or undermine what you're doing with the nuts. Hydration is crucial, but timing matters. You need adequate water throughout the day to keep your urine dilute. Concentrated urine irritates your bladder and increases urgency. But drinking a large glass of water at 9 p.m. guarantees you'll wake up at 1 a.m. So front load your fluids. Drink most of your water before 5 or 6 in the evening. After that, sip as needed, but don't chug. And avoid diuretics in the evening. Coffee, alcohol, and even some teas increase urine production. If you're going to have coffee, have it in the morning. If you're going to have alcohol, have it with dinner, not as a nightcap. Here's a specific hydration protocol that works well for most men. Upon waking, drink 16 ounces of water. This rehydrates you after the night and gets your system moving. Mid-morning, another 12 to 16 ounces. With lunch, 8 to 12 ounces. Mid-afternoon, another 12 ounces. That brings you to roughly 60 to 65 ounces by 4 p.m., which is adequate for most men. From 4 p.m. onward, limit yourself to small sips totaling no more than 8 ounces. This gives your body time to process the fluids before bed. Your bladder has less volume to deal with during the night, and you wake up less frequently. The type of fluids also matters. Plain water is ideal. Herbal teas without caffeine are fine. What you want to avoid are sugary drinks, artificially sweetened drinks, and anything with caffeine or alcohol in the evening hours. Sugar and artificial sweeteners can irritate the bladder lining in some men. Caffeine is a diuretic that increases urine production. Alcohol does the same and also interferes with the hormone that tells your kidneys to retain water at night. So, even moderate alcohol consumption in the evening often leads to more nighttime bathroom trips. If you enjoy a drink, have it earlier in the day, ideally with lunch, and balance it with extra water in the early afternoon. Processed foods are a direct antagonist to everything we're trying to accomplish. Refined carbohydrates, added sugars, industrial seed oils, artificial ingredients. These all spike blood sugar, trigger inflammatory responses, and create the exact internal environment that makes your prostate swell. A study published in the Journal of Urology followed men for 10 years and found that those who ate the most processed foods had nearly double the rate of prostate symptom progression compared to men who ate mostly whole foods. The mechanism is clear. Processed foods cause blood sugar spikes. Blood sugar spikes cause insulin surges. Insulin surges promote tissue growth and inflammation. It's a direct chain of cause and effect. So while you're adding these beneficial nuts, you also need to remove the foods that are working against you. White bread, pasta, sugary snacks, fried foods, packaged crackers, cookies, soda, sweetened beverages. Cut those out or minimize them drastically. Let me give you a practical framework for better food choices. Start with the perimeter of the grocery store where whole foods live. Produce meat and fish, dairy, eggs. The middle aisles hide most processed foods. Venture there only for specific items like canned beans, olive oil, nuts, and spices. Second rule, if it has more than 5 ingredients or contains ingredients you can't pronounce, skip it. Real food doesn't need a chemistry lab. Third rule, prioritize foods that were recently alive. Fresh vegetables, fruits, eggs, fish, meat. These contain the nutrients your cells need. Fourth rule, eat a variety of colors. Different colored vegetables contain different beneficial compounds, ensuring you get a broad spectrum of protective nutrients. Exercise plays a role that often gets overlooked. Moderate physical activity improves circulation throughout your entire body, including to your prostate. It helps regulate blood sugar and insulin. It reduces systemic inflammation. It supports healthy hormone metabolism. A meta analysis of multiple studies found that men who engaged in regular, moderate exercise had 25% lower risk of developing severe urinary symptoms compared to sedentary men. You don't need to become a marathon runner. 30 minutes of brisk walking 5 days per week is enough to create measurable benefit. The key word is moderate. Excessive, intense exercise, especially things like heavy cycling that puts direct pressure on your prostate, can actually worsen symptoms. So, moderate, consistent movement, walking, swimming, light jogging, yoga, activities that increase circulation without creating trauma to the pelvic region. Let me get specific about the types of movement that help versus hurt. Walking is ideal because it's low impact, improves circulation, and involves rhythmic pelvic movement that can actually help drain congested fluids from the prostate region. Swimming is excellent because the water supports your body weight, eliminating pressure on your pelvis while still giving you a full body workout. Yoga and stretching improve flexibility in your hip flexors and pelvic floor muscles, which often become tight and contribute to urinary symptoms. What you want to minimize or avoid are activities that create sustained pressure or impact to your perineum, which is the area between your scrotum and anus where your prostate sits close to the surface. Long distance cycling is the biggest culprit here. Sitting on a narrow bicycle seat for hours creates direct sustained pressure on your prostate, which can worsen inflammation and swelling. If you love cycling, either limit sessions to 30 minutes or less, or invest in a prostate friendly seat that's wider and has a center cut out to relieve pressure. Running on hard surfaces can create repetitive, jarring impact through your pelvis. If you run, stick to softer surfaces like trails or tracks, and keep the mileage moderate. The goal is movement that enhances circulation without adding mechanical stress to an already irritated area. Sleep quality affects everything. Poor sleep increases stress hormones like cortisol. Elevated cortisol promotes inflammation and insulin resistance. Insulin resistance worsens blood sugar control. Poor blood sugar control feeds into prostate inflammation. It's all connected. Men who sleep less than 6 hours per night have measurably higher inflammatory markers than men who sleep 7 to 8 hours. And here's the vicious cycle. Prostate symptoms wake you up at night, which worsens your sleep, which increases inflammation, which worsens your prostate symptoms. Breaking that cycle requires addressing both sides. Improve your prostate health so you wake less often, and improve your sleep hygiene so the sleep you do get is higher quality. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Avoid screens for an hour before bed. Keep a consistent sleep schedule. These aren't minor details, they're foundational. Stress management is another piece that directly impacts your prostate. Chronic stress keeps your sympathetic nervous system activated. That's your fight or flight response. When you're in that state, your body prioritizes immediate survival over long term health. It increases inflammation. It tightens muscles, including the muscles around your prostate and bladder neck. It disrupts hormone balance. A study on men with chronic prostatitis found that those who practiced daily stress reduction techniques, things like deep breathing, meditation, or progressive muscle relaxation, had significantly better symptom improvement than those who didn't. You don't need to become a meditation expert. Even 5 minutes of deep breathing before bed can shift your nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest mode. And that shift allows your pelvic muscles to relax and your prostate to calm down. Let me give you a complete daily protocol that integrates everything we've covered. Morning routine. Wake up, drink a full glass of water, have breakfast that includes Greek yogurt or eggs for protein with your mixed nuts on top. 7 walnut halves, 20 almonds, 1 Brazil nut, 15 pecan halves. Add some berries for additional antioxidants. This breakfast stabilizes your blood sugar for hours. It delivers protein, healthy fats, fiber, and all the anti inflammatory compounds we've discussed. Mid morning, drink another glass of water. If you have coffee, have it now, not later in the day. Lunch. Focus on whole foods.